Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. Today we have Manchester United's press conference and open training before the Europa League game against PAOK. Let's start things off with some open training. Okay, we are at the open training at Carrington for Manchester United versus PAOK in the Europa League, and it's the first open training that the United Stand have been to since Eriksen has left Manchester United and Ruud van Nistelrooy is the interim manager. Some big news coming out already, if you can see here, is that Yoro is in first team training. Massive news for Manchester United, and also new manager Ruud and Amorim coming in as well. Manchester United's big signing in the summer, Yoro, should be available soon, with rumours that Yoro will be back for Ruud and Amorim's first game, Ipswich away. Murmurs that he could even be in the squad against Leicester. I don't think Manchester United will try and rush this player back. I think they will ease him back in, but to see him in training, in group training with the rest of the players, is really exciting news. Didn't play a professional game under Eriksen, but I'm very sure that Ruud and Amorim will want to utilise him. Huge talent. Obviously coming in, we're thinking that Ruud and Amorim's going to play that back three. He's not going to change from his system that's worked so well within his career in Portugal and especially at Sporting Lisbon. So you would like to think that Yoro will be a massive part of that when he's looking for three centre-backs to play. I mean, as you can see there, the mood in training seems pretty high. Look, Yoro being welcomed back into training by the rest of the Manchester United players. We've seen that for Tyrone last year as well when he came back, and that's amazing to see. Anthony as well, as you can see, back in training. I think he got a welcome back too. Casemiro got his arm around his shoulder there. That's really good news, because when Anthony did go down, when did he go down? Which game was it? Was it in the Fenerbahce game? Yeah, it was in the Fenerbahce game that he went down. And a lot of people thought, that's going to be him gone for the rest of the season. But it turns out it was just a sprained ankle and he is now back in training. That's good news because, a lot of people might have wrote Anthony off, but at the end of the day, a new manager's coming in. He might like him. He might want to play him as a wing-back. We know so many people in the past have joked about Anthony playing left-back, about him playing right-back. I don't see him as an actual full-back, but as a wing-back in an Amorim system where he's played wingers in them positions before, Anthony might be useful to him as part of the squad. So to have him back, I think it'll be good for Ruud and Amorim to get to see him. And you want as many players back as possible. Just looking out for Mason Mount. Is Mason Mount anywhere to be seen? Mason Mount is there to be seen next to Christian Eriksen between Johnny Evans. One thing I will say is, as soon as a new manager's coming in, there's quite a few players back. I mean, I think in some cases it's probably just a coincidence. I mean, we know Yoro has been training hard for a long time now. Also, you can see Tyrone there. Looks very physically fit, looks in great condition, ready to make his return next to Diogo Dalot. But it is funny. Oh, they're just trying to get Ugarte to go into the middle now. Bruno Fernandes telling him his captain he's got to go into the middle, Anthony pushing him in there. But as I was saying, it is funny how a new manager's coming in and suddenly, nearly all the squad's back, just still waiting on Luke Shaw, who it feels like will be waiting for an eternity. Also, something to note as well is that Marcus Rashford is here in group training after doing some individual training before the session started. Something to note there is he doing individual training just off his own back to do a bit of extra work? It did seem like fitness training, or is it the fact he is carrying something? To me, it would suggest he's maybe carrying something, especially when you look at the substitutions in the last couple of games. Rashford's been the first sub before Garnacho. I think he came off just after an hour in the game against Chelsea, where if you were going to make a sub in that game, a lot of people would have thought maybe it would have been Garnacho, the winger, that came off. So Marcus Rashford might be carrying something and they're just kind of managing that at this moment in time. So that's something to note. But the good news is that he's back in group training after doing some individual work. So we're hoping it's not too serious. You will be thinking that a lot of these players are going to want to impress the new manager, Ruud and Amorim. And Ruud and Amorim's nearly got a full squad to assess. I think the only players that are still out injured is Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw, if I'm not mistaken. I think everybody else is now in group training. How long Mason Mount will be able to last for, who only knows. How long, until Luke Shaw comes back, that's another question you've got to ask yourself. But players are back. Anthony is back. Tyrone is back. Mason Mount is back. Yoro is back. How close they are to actually getting into the first team, who knows? But the fact that they're in group training is usually a very, very good sign, because it goes on the grass, individual training, and then group training. And we've got a lot of players in group training now. Someone who I'm keeping a bit of an eye on as I'm looking in training. Obviously, it's hard to tell a lot from just doing rondos and training drills, but Joshua Zirkzee is someone that I want to watch. I think he's been getting a lot, and I mean a lot, of criticism online and in the fan base. And has he started his Manchester United career the way he would have wanted to? Well, I mean, when he came on and scored in the Fulham game, I think that was exactly how I'd want to start. But since then, there has been very little signs from Joshua Zirkzee that he's going to be a promising signing. I think the only game that I can look at and think, you know what, yeah, Joshua Zirkzee looks like he's got potential and I'm super excited for him, was that Crystal Palace away game when it was 0-0. And I thought that first hour before he came off, he was fantastic. But since then, you've seen a player that looks like he's playing in slow motion, looks like he's not adapted to the Premier League. And I actually thought the report calling him overweight was distasteful. I don't think he's necessarily overweight. I just think he's a very big physique and he's a very physical, athletic player. Does he maybe need to adjust to the pace of the Premier League? Yes. And I think in these training drills here, you can see, is somebody up to the pace? Do they look sharp? I mean, it's very hard to properly tell, but Joshua Zirkzee is someone who I'm looking at in this scenario, because he was brought in because he was known. He was known for his first touch. He was known for being able to glide through defences. He was known for being really silky on the ball, and we've not really seen that so far for Manchester United. We've seen somebody who looks a little bit sluggish, like he's playing in slow motion, like he's playing a few seconds behind of the game. And, you know, for a new signing, especially someone so young, you want them to come in, you want them to adapt quite quickly. But what I would do is I would call for patience with Joshua Zirkzee, and I wouldn't write him off yet. I've already seen people saying we need to sell him. Let's just give him the season. You know, we might well need to sell him. But at this moment in time, I don't think you can categorically say that, and you've got to give him a little bit of patience. You never know. You know, the new manager might be able to work with him and get the best out of him. Personally, I see him going more for the likes of Rasmus Højlund. We've seen how well Gyökeres did against Manchester City, and just a little shout out to my manager Ruud and Amorim, humbling Pep Guardiola in that game in Lisbon. I mean, can I just say, I know this is nothing to do with the training, but while I have my time on the commentary, I need to say it. The pressure on Ruud and Amorim in that game, not only is it his last game at home for Sporting Lisbon, for the fans in their stadium, but you're against the best team in the world, the best manager in the world currently, and against the team that is your new team's arch rivals that have been dominating them and been better than them for years. And that first half, Sporting, I watched the whole game, they weren't very good. They came out in the second half, scored straight away, fantastic team goal, and were excellent against Manchester City. I mean, how long have we been calling out for a manager that can change things at half time? How long have we been calling out for somebody who can influence games in a positive way when you look like there's no coming back from that? I mean, the first half, Sporting looked like they were hanging on. And Ruud and Amorim was very open and honest about that after the game, and I loved that from him. I loved his comment saying, you know, the most important game was where they lost 5-0 because they learnt so much from that game. Like, he was a humble manager, but I'm not getting too carried away, because he's going to have a lot of work to do with this Manchester United side, and it's not the Sporting squad, it's the Manchester United squad, and there's a lot of work to be done. But the pressure he took on that game and beating City 4-1, it is not easy, despite having no Rodri, despite the form that they're in. And, you know, there was definitely people sharpening their knives in that first half against Man City, and he came out and he beat them 4-1. And to get back to my point, Gyökeres was a huge part of that. Do Manchester United need to sign that player, Gyökeres, from Sporting Lisbon? Ruud and Amorim shut down the ideas of him going in January, but in the summer he basically said that Gyökeres might decide to move on. I will take him in an absolute heartbeat in Manchester United. I said myself, Gyökeres, pack your bags and come with Ruud and Amorim. Looks like the real deal, creates opportunities for himself. Obviously, he's working in a system where they create for their striker, which is not what Manchester United do right now. It is known that the wingers have had more shots than Rasmus Højlund this season, and the strikers, and that's not what a Sporting Lisbon team is under Amorim. So I'm sure we'll see that start to change, but it's not going to happen overnight. You know, Ruud and Amorim isn't going to come in and suddenly, you know, we play the way Sporting did. That took a long time for Ruud and Amorim. It took him years of building it. And, you know, to do it in the Premier League at a club like Manchester United that have so many problems, it's going to take time, but we've got to stick with him, we've got to back him, and we can't write him off straight away. I think the performance against City gave these players, not a single excuse. It gave them nowhere to hide. You know, if Ruud and Amorim can't do it here, and it's not going to happen straight away, like I said, you've got to look at the players. You've got to allow him to dictate this team and be the leader of this team and make the decisions, make the harsh decisions that need to be made. And, you know, these players are going to have to show up, and that's why it's not surprising to me that, you know, a lot of the players are back in training now and we've got nearly a fully fit team. I'm not calling anybody out, it might just be a coincidence, but the players know, you know, they want to be part of Ruud and Amorim's plans. They want to be getting into that starting 11 under Ruud and Amorim. First impressions are everything, and they're going to have to work incredibly hard to be successful under this coach, because you can tell he has high standards and you can tell he's going to massively shake things up here. Well, we hope. Might not happen straight away, but if he's given the tools to do so, that is what will happen. I trust in this manager. It's whether Manchester United behind the scenes will allow him to deliver. And obviously, Ruud van Nistelrooy, you know, leading Manchester United as of now. You can see him there next to Amad Diallo. I wonder if he'll get any minutes in this Europa League game. A Europa League game that Manchester United need to win, by the way. We've got 3 draws in our last 3 Europa League games. Not good enough by Manchester United standards. People say 2 of them are away games. Still doesn't cut it for me. I know Fenerbahce and Porto away are tough games, but we need a win. We desperately need 3 points. But Amad Diallo is a player that's been very unlucky not to get into the starting 11 in recent times. Got player of the month for August and just hasn't been able to get into the starting 11. You thought once Ruud became interim coach, then, you know, Amad might start to see some minutes, but still he finds himself on the bench. Get down in the comments, would you start Amad against PAOK? I absolutely would. I think if you need the 3 points, he's the player to play on the right wing. I've said it time and time again. I think Rashford and Garnacho both can play on the right, but I think they're both best off the left. Based off recent performances, you know, it's you'd like to think that Amad will start on the right in this game, and either Garnacho or Rashford will start on the left. Based off the Chelsea game, you'd say Rashford would start on the left and Amad would start on the right. Based off the Leicester game, you'd say Garnacho would start off the left and Amad would start on the right. You know, Garnacho had a poor game against Chelsea. I thought Rashford had a pretty poor game against Leicester. So it's much of a muchness between them two right now. But I think with the minutes that Garnacho has had, then it's maybe, you know, it'd do him good to come off the bench in the game against PAOK and have Amad on that right-hand side and Rashford on that left-hand side. Whether Rashford's fit enough, we'll have to wait and see. He's in group training, so that is a good sign. Will Manuel Ugarte make his 3rd successive start in a row for Manchester United? Finally, you know, get himself into that Manchester United team on a consistent basis. Christian Eriksen is in training, which is someone I've failed to speak about so far, but obviously he's been out injured the last few games. Looks fit and sharp to me. So will he come back into the team? I doubt he'd come straight back into the starting 11 after being out through injury, but for me, he's been Manchester United's best player so far this season, Christian Eriksen. Does Ugarte lose his spot or does he keep his spot? Had a decent game against Chelsea, nothing crazy, but was very good against Leicester, very good against Fenerbahce. So these are questions that you ask about the Europa League game coming up. Ruud van Nistelrooy's second to last game. You know, he's kind of, in his 4 games, got a taste of everything. He's had a Carabao Cup game, a knockout game. He's going to have a European game at home at Old Trafford. He's had a Premier League game. He's going to have another Premier League game against Leicester. So does he change things up for the Europa League game? Fitness. Does Xerxes start up front? Xerxes started up front against Fenerbahce. He started up front in the Cup. Rasmus Højlund's been playing the Premier League games. But obviously Joshua Xerxes hasn't been firing at all. Hasn't been at the races. Rasmus Højlund didn't look amazing against Chelsea. I think he did some good things. I think he's got a lot stronger. But needs to play the ball quicker. Needs to be a little bit sharper against opposition that are going to bully you and going to challenge you, and you know, teams like Chelsea will do that. So what striker do you play against PAOK? They're not going to be as strong as Chelsea. Let's just be completely honest with ourselves. You are at home. Do you play Rasmus Højlund to get his confidence up and get him some goals in Europe, or do you revert back to Joshua Xerxes to try and, you know, play him into form a little bit, who hasn't looked anywhere near it in the last few games? These are questions you need to ask. You know, what players are going to play, and is there going to be much rotation? What is nice to see as well is some young lads in training. I'm sure there's going to be some young lads making the bench. I'm just trying to look now see if Harry Armas is in training. Ryan, is Harry Armas in training? He's not in training currently for Manchester United. I can't see him. But it was reported. it was reported that he might be on the bench against PAOK and could maybe get some minutes off the bench. I don't know how true that is, but I think there's an under-19s, somewhat happening with the under-19s that Harry Armas is a part of, which is why he's not in group training now for the first team. So he's probably just needed in the under-19s, and that's the reason. Centre-backs wise, will Johnny Evans come back into the team? Been on the bench the last few games, but he's been one of the best centre-backs for Manchester United so far this season. Super reliable. Do you get him some minutes in this Europa League game? How will Ruud play it? For me personally, my team, I'll speak about it a bit more in the road trip, but I think Rasmus needs to play this game. I think he's looked like the more promising striker so far this season. I think there's some promising signs. I think there's potential there. And I think PAOK at home at Old Trafford could be a really good opportunity to get him on the score sheet and build that confidence. I think he's going to be the main man when Ruud and Amorim comes in. Let's get that confidence up now and get him scoring goals. Okay, everybody, thank you for watching. This has been Beth Attenborough once again. I hope you enjoyed the commentary, and let's hope Ruud van Nistelrooy and Ruud and Onana have some interesting things to say in the press conference.
Welcome everyone to our press conference for our Europa League game tomorrow against PAOK. Please identify whether your question is for Ruud or for Andre, and if you require translation. Let's start with Sky.
Ruud, first of all, nice to welcome Yoro back to the group today, albeit I think it was 15 minutes, and then he did an individual session. So how are you managing his return to full fitness now?
No, he's been managed very well after his injury in pre-season. Obviously, it was going to be a long one, and it's a big moment for him. That first time he's back in team training, and obviously we're going to get him back partially over the coming weeks, and look to get him on board as quick as possible.
We also saw Marcus doing an individual session before joining in with the main group. What's the thinking behind that?
No, he did a bit of extra work before the session on his own, and he joined the group. There was no other special news on that one.
Seems to be a standing question at the moment as well. Have you had any contact with Ruben just yet, even if it's to offer congratulations as to what happened last night?
No, I didn't have contact so far. There's no changes in that.
Do you know when yet?
I don't know when yet either.
Can you tell us what would be the ideal scenario for you now?
I don't know. It's difficult to comment on that now. I'm waiting conversations to take place. And in the meantime, obviously, there's one thing that's the most important for this football club now is getting the work done on a daily basis. And in the game coming up tomorrow in Europe, it's a European night at Old Trafford. Against the Greek champions, second in the league, current. So I have to say that I feel the responsibility to do well over the next week, and that's my job. So please, don't. How do I say it? I'm focused on that, and on the others. As I said, I welcome Ruben. Happy here to help him. And that's the situation for the moment.
Just wondering on the subject of injuries, Tyrell Malacia, how he's progressing and when we're likely to see Luke Shaw, Kobbie Mainoo and Harry Maguire again?
Well, different cases, all of them. Tyrell is the furthest in the moment. He's part of team training for a couple of weeks now, fully in team training, no restrictions. So it's good for him to plan game minutes, maybe in the under 21s. We have to see, and the others are still. Harry's still inside working on his rehab, and Luke also does pitch work like he did today, and he's progressing there to also do partial team trainings hopefully soon.
Eric often mentioned, we often ask him about the injury issues that kind of derailed much of last season, and that he was looking into it, the club were looking into it. Was there ever a resolution to what the issue was with the muscle injuries and things that were being picked up?
Well, I think no. I don't know. I couldn't comment on that. For me, it's important, as I said, that I'm focusing on the players that are currently fit, and that's my job. Manage them as good as I can. Obviously, it wasn't an easy period over the last week. But I think the players reacted really well with the Leicester game and also in the Chelsea game, and we're looking to build on that. And yeah, that's why I'm so focused on today and tomorrow to do well for the short spell that I'm responsible for this football club, and I take that as a big responsibility.
Hi, there's a question for Andre. Obviously you worked with Erik ten Hag at Ajax. Why do you think it didn't work out at Man United, and how did you feel when you learned that he was leaving?
Well, when I heard he was leaving, obviously I feel bad. It's not always easy for players to understand when the manager is leaving, but at the end of the day, the club have to make a decision and we have to follow. Yes, I work with him. He's a good manager. I have a very good relationship with him, and yeah, why things didn't work here. We didn't win enough games, so it's so simple. And high level, it's not easy. Sometimes you have to pay the price. And fortunately, it was him. But we did everything. Players give everything. We work hard. We try our best, but it just didn't work.
Neil.
Ruud,
Could you just wait for the microphone?
Ruud. You got it? Yeah.
I could.
Okay.
Ruud, we saw what Ruben did with Sporting Lisbon last night. Is there enough here for him to replicate that sort of thing at Manchester United? Enough here in the squad, do you believe?
Like I said just now, I'm so focused at the present here. To comment on that is for me is very difficult and hardly impossible because I'm really putting everything, all my energy in with the current squad, all the players. Like I said, all the injured players.
I'm just asking about the strength of this current squad.
Yeah, no. So that's why to relate it to his playing style and all of that. That's for me is a question that I can't answer because I'm so focused on the players here and getting results going tomorrow and on Sunday in the Premiership, which are vital 2 games for the season. And I think I'm doing the new manager the best favor to do that. And later, like I said in all my interviews, I'm here to help the club and him. And I think that comes across, that came across, and see when communication can start about the future.
And just on Manchester United in Europe, it always had such a rich heritage, as the former manager called it, but not so much in the last 10 years. Why do you think a club of this size has failed in Europe in the last 10 years?
Well, I think it's a big question for me to answer why it didn't work over the last 10 years. For me it's important, and that's the reason why I arrived at the club, is to help the club and build to those years again where there were successful times in Europe. Obviously there was the Europa League final, if I remember well, with Oli. There was the Europa League win with Mourinho. So was that in the last 10 years?
Yeah, it was.
So I think that's big European successes. So in that sense, it's always Manchester United is always there to compete in Europe, and that's what we want as well, and that starts again tomorrow.
Well,
The focus that you've just been talking about, obviously these next 2 games are very important. But has it been quite hard for you to focus and for the players to focus? Because it's only human nature for the players to look beyond that and think, how I'm going to fit in under the new manager, what's the new team going to look like? Has it been quite a challenge for you to keep the focus on these next 2 games?
Well, I think last week before the Leicester game and before the Chelsea game, I think it was even harder because obviously things are changed quickly and massively. So to manage that was I think a bigger task. Now things sort of calm down, and we're focusing on the 2 performances where we were confident about and can build on. But again, it's about tomorrow that we play with the same passion and commitment, and then with the home support, and we can get to our best.
Beth.
Question for Andre. Did you happen to watch the Sporting Lisbon game last night? And if you did, how do you think these players will suit the new manager Ruud and Amorim's style? And do you think they'll be able to adapt to that high intensity that he plays?
Can you repeat, please?
Did you watch the Sporting Lisbon game last night against Manchester City? And if you did, how do you think the current Manchester United players will adapt to his style? Obviously, it's different to what we've played so far this season, very high intensity.
Yeah, I did. I did watch a game yesterday. Great victory from there, by the way. Different system, but my players, my teammates, we are all pragmatic now. I think everyone here is capable to play in each system, so I don't think this will be any issue for us. We have big players, so they will step up.
And then quickly, can I just ask Ruud as well? Obviously, you were a brilliant striker for Manchester United. Sporting, under the new manager Ruud and Amorim, have scored a lot of goals so far this season. Manchester United have struggled to create chances for the strikers, Rasmus and Joshua Zirkzee. Do you have any idea why that might be, why they're not getting as many chances as we'd expect?
I don't agree that we didn't create enough chances. I think if you look at the statistics, that we are one of the teams that's creating the most chances, and it's the conversion. And that's why I said I'm not worried, because we're creating the chances. And with the talent we have, and they're still young, not only the two that you just mentioned, but the others as well. There's lots of potential. I think when results will keep coming, confidence will rise. And that's the key thing in scoring goals, confidence. And I think these guys will have it in him, and hopefully we can carry on in tomorrow's game.
Ty.
Hi, Ruud. In the Sporting game last night, their striker scored a hat-trick. I think he scored 21 goals already this season. It seems obvious that Ruben likes us, gets the best out of strikers. You mentioned, Rasmus there. He's 21. Lots of big chances this season. What does he need to do to go to the next level? Because it's clear he's got a lot of potential. What does he need to do to elevate himself to the kind of level that Gyökeres at Sporting is at?
Stay calm and believe in himself, believe in his qualities, like I do, like his teammates do. He knows he's young, he's promising. It's a daily work he's putting in that will, in the end, will pay off, not only for him but also for his teammates, and confident in that.
Tell from Greek media over here.
Πώς αντιμετωπίζει το αυριανό παιχνίδι, γιατί προηγήθηκε ένα δύσκολο παιχνίδι με την Chelsea για την Manchester United και ακολουθεί ένα ακόμη με την Leicester. Πώς αντιμετωπίζουν το αυριανό παιχνίδι, είναι και για τους δύο η ερώτηση, και τι είναι αυτό το οποίο γνωρίζουν για τον αντίπαλό τους.
It's for both the question. Given that tomorrow's game is sandwiched from a tough game last Sunday and a difficult game next weekend, how do you approach tomorrow's game, and what do you know about PAOK Salonika?
Asking me first?
Both, yeah, sure.
Okay. Like I commented before, it's a game of high priority for us tomorrow. So we don't look at the past game and the future game. We know that we need all our attention on PAOK. We analyze them very well. We know that they're the current champions of Greece, which is a big achievement, and also is current second, just 1 point behind Ares in this moment. Lots of talented players, experienced players, strong side. Will be supported tomorrow here with 4,000 fans traveling and supporting that team. So we are ready to face a very tough game. That's the approach for tomorrow.
Ruud says everything already.
We agree.
Hi, Ruud. Obviously, the focus will be on these 4 games, but as well as tactics, how important has it been to change the atmosphere? Has there been a change in atmosphere since Eric has left?
I don't know. It's difficult. Of course, it's a mixed emotions as well, because when he leaves, it's a very sad day, and the days after that, you have to recover as a team and as a staff, to go through that together. We tried everything together to make it work, and unfortunately it didn't happen. And of course we have to switch a mindset, and we did, and the players did, and you saw that against Leicester, and they also took responsibility that they had to improve as well. So I don't know. After the Chelsea game, we were slightly disappointed. We didn't get the win, which was very positive signal to the performance, and I think emotions calm down. Players are now focusing and training on getting their performances to the maximum, and for tomorrow's game as well. So that's basically what I can share about emotions, feelings at the moment in the squad.
Okay, last question, BBC.
Ruud, just one more on Rasmus. I think he only had one touch inside the box against Chelsea on Sunday. That led to the penalty. He's done a lot of his work with his back to goal in recent weeks. How do you get the best out of him? Do you want him playing that deep, or do you want him in the penalty area?
I mean, the most goals are scored in the penalty area, so that's where we want to get our players as much as we can. And but it depends on the games. There's been games where we arrived many times, created many chances, and unfortunately we couldn't convert them all, and that cost us a couple of results. But I think you have to deal with the circumstances. When it's needed to hold up to him to hold up play and get players into third man positions and play on from there. He does a brilliant job as well. And of course he's a guy that can change a game in a second, like the penalty moment, and you just need one or two in the box and can be in with him and the others as well. So that threat we always have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.